All right. Well, thanks, Samantha, for joining me. I'm excited to talk to you today about A Dog's Life, your company, your dog training company. Before we get into kind of the website and design and SEO and stuff we're going to talk about today, I just want to learn a little bit more about you and your company and kind of what you offer.
Yeah, my name is Samantha, and I started training dogs in 2010. I was in Wilmington, North Carolina, and when I was there, I had about anywhere between 3 and 5 trainers working for me. I'm originally from Charlotte, and in 2019, I moved back just to be closer to family. So we're kind of starting from the ground up here. I've got currently 2 employees, but we're wanting to grow and scale and bring on more trainers. But I made a lot of mistakes when I was in my 20s owning a company in Wilmington, North Carolina, and just trying to avoid that and kind of streamline everything as we go.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
So, for A Dog's Life, for your training company, what are some of the services you offer, and kind of give me a little bit of a brief rundown about what those look like?
Yeah, so we primarily do in-home lessons and board and trains with clients. So our in-home lessons are where we go and do primarily owner training. So we'll spend an hour with the client, teach them the things that they should be working on. They practice over the week, and then we have another lesson and just kind of continuously build on it. With our board and train programs, they actually come and stay at my house for training. And then while they're with me, they start out with basic obedience and then they move up to more advanced obedience. So actually being able to go out in town and different shopping strips, dog friendly coffee shops, breweries, things along those lines. And that's pretty much the extent of like what we focus on. I do some puppy raising where I raise puppies for clients. And then recently I've gotten into a little bit of e-commerce where I'm selling kennels. It's a brand called Rufflin, so I'm a wholesaler through them. And so I've been playing around with that and seeing where that goes.
Okay, cool. The
Yeah.
puppy raising, how early do you get? You get them in 8 weeks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Get them at 8 weeks and then keep them till about 6 months.
Oh wow, you get them for a
Yeah.
while,
Yeah.
and you're doing your training and everything during that time frame.
Yeah. Yeah. So with
Okay.
puppies, the big thing is like socialization and then desensitizing them to grooming and just that early exposure that a lot of dogs miss out on. So
Yeah.
during that critical socialization period, like they grow up to be super confident and super well behaved in all those environments.
Yeah. Okay. So, um, right off the bat, I think you have a great hero design. You've got a nice clean image. There's good contrast between the colors and the lettering on the background color. You have two call to action buttons with a accent color, which is really, really great. And I like too that you have them build differently. So this one has kind of a transparent fill, where this one there's less transparency. So you're kind of differentiating that they are two different actions to take.
Yep.
Um, I love here too, dog training in Charlotte, Concord, and Mooresville, North Carolina. That is great right off the bat to say what you do and where you do it at. That's
Yeah.
really important. And having those combinations inside of this makes a big deal when you start getting into the search engine optimization of things. Right below it, I love that you have good branding all the way through. So even though you have different fonts here, it's kind of a play on it, which I
Yeah.
really like, the wild versus polite, and the font reflects that. And I like that you have a nice tagline that goes along with that. And then even too, right into imagine a dog who actually listens. Like you're already kind of structuring that end result and that feeling that they're going to have with their new puppy,
Yeah.
or an existing dog, I guess. And then right into like what the training experience is. So to me, right off the bat, like I think your hero section is great.
Thanks.
Depending on how you structured it with, your headers and tags and stuff like that, would be the only thing that, maybe we look at.
Okay.
So for instance, I don't know if you can see the pop down here, but
Yeah.
we have your title is A Dog's Life Inc. Dog Training.
Uh-huh.
So we'd probably want to like, so this is good. I think this is good. You have a good description. Taking a look at your headers, it doesn't look like we have a title tag or an H1 on here.
Okay.
So A quick background. So when we're talking about search engine optimization, there is kind of a hierarchy to the text that you tag them with. So you'll hear people reference header tag or title tag or something along those lines. So
Right.
essentially what that does is it tells Google and the algorithm, the bot that scans your website and indexes it and all that, it tells them a hierarchy of what the most important information on that page is.
Okay.
So if you look at an H1, that's going to be the most important header for that page. And H2 is the second most important, H3, and so on. For the most part, I would say most websites don't really go beyond like an H3. There's usually not that much on there that you really need to be tagging H4 through H6.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, it's there as an option to help with that. So
Okay.
right in here, what I would say is a good header. So you have like a title tag and a header tag. I would say your title tag probably should be dog training in Charlotte, Concord, and Mooresville, because that's what you're telling Google is the entire theme of this page and this website. Like this is what we're talking about. And then your header is more along the lines of this specific page. This is the most important heading on this page. This is what the topic of the page is essentially.
Right. Okay.
So I would say we would need to dive into competitor analysis, dive into some keyword research and audits. But essentially, like that would be the first thing is like let's mark a title, let's mark a header one, so that way we can tell Google kind of where you should rank and like what sections or you should be put in when people are searching for specific keyword phrases.
Got it. Okay.
Moving down, I think you have good branding throughout. I love that you have great contrast between the backgrounds and the text on screen. The second section, you go right into brand credibility. So you're building trust factors with a review. I'd like to see more reviews here. I think that would be better. So either ones that slide across, or if you have, if you make your container boxes and you have 3 or 4 of them,
Gotcha.
or even if it's a link to more Google reviews. So I know
Yeah.
your website's built in Wix, and I know Wix has a uh, plugin that you can use that actually links your Google business profile to your Wix. So as you get reviews, it will automatically update for it. I think they have a free version of it too for up to like 9 or 10 that they'll display on your site. So I would say
Yeah.
do
I
that.
have seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say do that. And that way you can see all the reviews that you have coming through to increase the amount of credibility that you have for your site right off the bat.
Okay.
So then we go kind of into your next section. Um, Again, I love how you're bringing in kind of the language here, a well-behaved dog at home and out in the world. So again, you're reinforcing what that end product is that they'll receive when working with your business. And you're asking the right questions right here, right, to kind of amplify maybe the current problem that they have. So a lot of times, marketers will use kind of a PAS or PASS framework, and what that stands for is problem, agitate, solution.
Yeah.
So this kind of goes along those lines. Like you're giving the solution, hey, this is the end result. This is probably what you're experiencing right now. But in working with us, no matter what your goals, we make training simple, stress-free, and tailored in real life. So I think you're structuring the language of this really, really well throughout. And then you added a call to action button at the bottom that goes into training services. I would play around with this call to action button a little bit.
Okay.
So you want to create a website that allows the user to get the information that you need or that they need, and then to take the action you want them to take as quickly and as seamless as possible. So more than likely, they're going to be doing a lot of research. So there
Mhm.
is kind of, it's a little bit different than maybe your e-com store. Your e-com store, they're probably going to do a little bit of research, but you really want them to just buy.
Right.
But here, obviously, training services, and you probably have a pretty high ticket cost essentially. So, what is your pricing for, let's say, a board and train?
The 2-week board and train's 2,800.
2,800. Okay.
Yeah.
And if they're doing training, just in-home training, how much is that?
It's usually around 175 an hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the in-home training probably isn't as much of a research and consideration as it would be like board and train, especially when you're letting your dog go to essentially a stranger's house at that point
Yeah.
to stay and live. unless they come through for referrals. They're probably strangers, but so they probably will need some more consideration before, wanting to take you on or employ your services.
Right.
So training services may be beneficial for them, but you also may have someone that has already been referred to you. So I would play around with this. So like contact for more info, or you send them straight to your application page or whatever that looks like, but go ahead and get that conversion action there. Test
Yeah.
both and then see which one works better.
Okay. Yeah. I had it set up to redirect to the book and evaluation page. But as I did the Neil Patel, I think it's Uber Suggest or something, it was saying like I needed a link to the training services page, and that just felt like a good spot to stick it. But I'll
Mhm.
play around with like other areas I can stick it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that this is bad linking to the training services,
Yeah.
because again, in that consideration process, they're going to want to know what is available and then what
Right.
those look like. So I don't think that's a bad one
Okay.
by any means. And it might be that you have training services here, but then at a call to action button, maybe a section or two down, maybe that one is more of a direct conversion action where they're actually contacting you via form submission application or a phone call.
That makes sense. Okay.
I like that you have a video here with media. I think that's great. Again, kind of reinforcing this is what we focus on. So you can, again, end product, get back to enjoying your dog. I like the language around that a lot. I like how you switched up in this section here, the layout of the text from a design aspect. I think that it brings a little bit more freshness to the design element of the websites. I think it looks great. The wording is good. I would again start to look at, okay, what do we have tagged here on the back end? How are we doing our headers? And maybe even changing out some of the text in some of the headers of these sections to be more focused towards search engine optimization and less of just asking the question, why
Okay.
train with a dog's life? It might have, again, keyword research and audit. You're going to want to see what combinations of words that you want to rank for, what's going to be easy to rank for compared to your competitors, and then kind of the combination of that in that header.
Okay.
Does that all make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. And here, and you got a call to action right here. Again, this is a more direct conversion based call to action, which looks like it goes to your application.
Yeah.
Perfect. I'd probably say we want to take a look here at this header. You've got some spacing here. We probably want to give a little bit more space down at the bottom, or just move this text overall up a little bit to be more centered with this hero.
Are you on Chrome?
Yes.
Okay. Um, for whatever reason, when I look at it on my on Safari and then my tablet and the phone, all the spacing is like different than like what I see. So
So that may be on breakpoints.
okay.
So this is probably more of a tablet version. So you have some better spacing here. And then if we move into phone, your spacing looks good. Are you familiar with the term breakpoints?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at
So it
them.
may just be that I need to adjust, add some more breakpoints
Okay.
for larger screens. I have an extremely over the top wide monitor. It's
Yeah.
like 49-inch, very wide monitor. So that's probably what we're seeing is like as this gets stretched out, that is just we're missing some of those breakpoints we need to add in.
Okay.
But I like right here that you already have again more trust badges here. What I would probably do again based on breakpoints, which some of the smaller ones looks like it's a little bit better. I might take a look at trying to eliminate the guesswork and needing to scroll down, but maybe having some text above this image that says application or more information or as a contact form or something like that to showcase that, like, hey, just scroll down a little bit and then you'll
Right.
see the information here that you need to fill in.
Okay. That
Excuse
makes
me one
sense.
second. Need water. Cool. Any questions on that one?
I don't think so, no.
Awesome. All right, let's go back to your homepage here. Keep scrolling down. Again, I think these are honestly, I don't have a ton of feedback here. I think that again, your contrast is great. You have media in here, which these don't look to be stock photos. Did you do a photo shoot or something for your brand where you've got these assets?
Some of them are stock photos, and then some of them are mine. That one's mine.
Awesome. I always recommend as much as possible, companies getting away from using stock images.
Yeah.
Like if you can get some real images and you get your branding in the images, it makes all the difference. Yeah, I love the section layout. Again, you have a call to action, which goes right back into the application page, which I think is great. Yeah, I mean, you got the segmented between whether it's a puppy or whether it's more of a more adult dog training. And I'm assuming these go to the individual service pages.
I do, yeah.
Perfect. And then trust building here. Honestly, you could probably move this section here, probably up under the hero image if you wanted
Okay.
to. If you moved that here, and then I would almost say you could probably eliminate some of these images here and go
Uh-huh.
right into, this well-behaved dog. Or if you take these images and you kind of use it as a gradient behind there to add some texture, to the background.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
that's something that's, from a design element, I would play around with and see, like, visually stimulating what you could do there.
Yeah.
Um, I think those badges would be great up here, but I would also say continuing, like, still using the reviews and stuff, maybe right below this section,
Yeah.
as
Just
well.
bump it down.
Yep. I would say overall, I think you have a great homepage. I think there's just some elements that, to optimize it for search engines.
Okay.
I think you need some more text on the front page. Um, More recent stuff with Google says somewhere between 2,500 and 3,000 words on a homepage. I think that's pretty excessive. People don't read websites, they skim websites. So you
Right.
want to have your most important information at the top, couple sections with plenty of call to actions. I think you have a good amount of call to actions throughout the page. I might even add one here,
Okay.
in this section, and keep the rest of them to where you have a call to action in almost every single section. I like that you have your Google My Business linked in here. Or did you just drop pins?
So I did you can add a map on Wix, and I did a map, but if you click on it, I think it redirects you to Google My Business. Maybe not.
No, this seems to be just an interactive map. Yeah, what I definitely would do is, from a local search engine optimization element, definitely add your Google My Business
Yeah.
as a link inside of that map, so that way you can send that additional signal back to your Google Business page.
Okay.
There it goes. Okay. You have your, this link for A Dog's Life here. I probably would reframe that is, you know, application, or, submit application here or something like that, since that goes to your application page.
Yeah, that's
Um,
smart.
but again, other than that, I think adding probably an FAQ section on here. If you added 10 frequently asked questions, and you optimize those questions and answers for your service offerings and locations,
Uh-huh.
that would increase your word count on the homepage without having to, add a ton of sections. And you can do accordion style or collapsible FAQ sections. So
Yeah.
that way it doesn't, like, extremely elongate your homepage. Most likely people aren't going to reach the bottom of your page too often.
Right.
But when they do, at least having some value at being at the bottom of the page and not just nonsense filler.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I do like that your, call to action, your schedule and evaluation, in the header, like your whole header is sticky. Um, I think that's good. Having this available at all times is good for conversion rates.
Okay.
And I would say too, looking at, okay, perfect. So for mobile, it switches to a click to call button. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Do you typically find people submit forms or give you a call?
So the Google, I get more calls from like the Google local services, like the Google guaranteed stuff,
Mhm.
because I don't have a website link to that. I don't think there's a way to. But if they end up on the website, if I talk to them, they usually schedule or email.
Okay. Is that how you prefer to be contacted too? Is like through the application contact form?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. I think I think your headings inside of your navigation bar are great. Again, focusing on training services, puppy training, adult training. What specifically with training services do you have that's different than puppy and adult training?
So the training services page is kind of just an overview of what we do.
Okay.
And then the copy on the puppy page and the adult dog page is just more geared towards those types of owners.
And what's your adventure training?
We haven't started that yet. So I want to do like workshops and monthly meetups and build that page out for that. I just haven't gotten to it yet.
Got it. Okay. So something you could probably do with your training services header here
Uh-huh.
is you could probably just make that a drop down. So as you hover over, it drops down and you have your different pages that you can click on. If you do click on training services, it could still be its own page that links out to all the different services you have. But then like you can also make that a drop down. So you don't necessarily have to have puppy or adult training or adult dog training in your nav menu. And you can
Yeah.
kind of compact your nav menu a little bit.
Okay.
Um, Really it's more of a preference when you start getting like this into more tablet versions. You can tell your header is starting to go over top of your logo here. And since
Yeah.
you do click a logo to revert back to the home page, it's still something that you want as part of your navigation. And this overlap here, that's just kind of what you run into when you have a bunch of tabs at your nav menu. So if this was a drop down, then obviously you gain all of this real estate back that would push your nav over.
Yeah.
Perfect. Again, overall structure, I think, overall design, you stay on brand, you have, credibility elements to it. You've got good text on screen, good contrast with it, plenty of call to action buttons. You have media testimonials, which is great. So the biggest thing that I would say for your service pages is I would look into designing this more like a landing page, like you would for advertising.
Okay.
So you still want to have all of this great copy on there. You probably have some opportunities to add different FAQs at the bottom. Again, for more of a search engine optimization.
Yeah.
But what I would do is I'd actually take all this text you have right here. I would push this all to the left side. And then in that hero section on the right side, I would put a contact form. So maybe it's not the full application form, but I would put in there like name, address, or your name, phone number, email, and the service that you're looking for more information on. And
Okay.
that way, when people land on this, if they're like, oh, great, they do puppies. Okay, yeah, that's exactly the information I need. Boom, they contact you. It is an extra step on your end, not getting the application and being able to review it and immediately qualifying or disqualifying them. But it does allow for more actions to be taken on your website. Maybe people that are just trying to get in and out really quick, looking for more information, at least let you start the conversation and then you can do the sale from there. But
Right.
having that contact form in there eliminates them having to click to yet another page to then figure out, oh, now I have to put all this information. I don't have that much time. I'll come back to this later. And then maybe they never come back to it.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah, I like that idea.
So typically for locations pages and service pages for local service businesses, I always recommend having a small contact form in that hero image on the right side or the left side or whatever design you prefer to it. Um, essentially when they land on it, they don't have to scroll. If they know exactly that's the information they want, they submit it. You got your conversion. You can optimize for those conversions when you run, meta ads and pay-per-click ads and all that stuff. If you do that now, or if you do that in the future, uh,
Yeah.
so that will help when you're working with your tag manager and doing analytics and stuff. But I would say that would be something to kind of help accommodate those that are crunched by time. That would probably be the type of people looking for your service. I don't have time to
Yeah.
train my dog. I need someone else to train it for me and then just tell me
Right.
what to do afterwards. That'll help accommodate that flow a little bit. And I think could lead to, or could increase your leads.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Awesome. Yeah. And honestly, it can be this contact form right here.
Okay.
Just take this exact contact form and then just drop it into the heroes here.
Okay.
Again, it looks like you might have some, like I would add a little bit more padding here in between
Okay.
these sections, just on the higher breakpoints. Obviously, it definitely fixes as you go down into smaller breakpoints. So I think it's just more so like accommodating for those larger screens.
Yeah.
Without being inside of your Google Analytics, or I'm not sure if Wix Analytics takes this into account, but the amount of users on mobile versus desktop. So design elements, conversion rate optimization based on how many users are on those different platforms is going to be huge.
Hmm.
If you find that most local service businesses are 85% plus mobile users for their customers. So having something optimized for this massive screen isn't like a deal breaker probably for you. But for those, a small percentage of people that are on desktop that may have larger screens, obviously you want to try to cater to their experience as best you can.
For sure. Yeah.
Cool. Any more questions about the design element of the website?
Think so. I'll just have to like play around to breakpoints and look at that. I love the idea about the contact form and like being able to capture the leads for those people that are just like quickly browsing.
Yeah.
Um, I can't think of anything else.
Okay. I know we talked about you have 3 different websites. So you
Yeah.
have one covering your training services for puppy and adult training, and then you have the actual puppy raising website.
Yep.
And I think for the most part, your websites are laid out pretty similar. So I would say it's probably the same feedback that I gave on the other one, I'd give on this one. I would
Right.
also, I'd be curious to do some research into what it would look like actually combining these 3 websites into one.
Yeah.
The reason I say that is, yes, you are serving different demographics and you are serving essentially different service areas. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember you saying the dog training and the puppy training is locally based. The puppy raising can be done nationally. Is that right?
Right. Yeah.
And then obviously ecom you can sell nationally too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we have is kind of 2 elements of search engine optimization. So we have local SEO, and then we have global SEO. Global just meaning like a much larger service area, like you would like a national reach.
Yeah.
Um, the problem that I would say you would have with 3 different websites is that you're creating 3 different SEO plans. You're having to optimize 3 different websites for essentially the same goal,
Yeah.
which is going to cost you 3 times as much. Whether you do it yourself, it costs you time and money for buying backlinks and all the other stuff. Or if you work
True.
with an agency, it's going to cost you 3 times as much having 3 separate websites. Since it's the same brand through and through, they're just
Yeah.
really different services and different target demographics. I would say more than likely you should be able to combine all 3 of these websites and just manage it under one brand.
Yeah.
And then when you look into your overall marketing plan for search engine optimization, for paid advertising and all that stuff, that's when you break out your targeting to your different avatars.
Yeah. Okay. That
So
makes sense.
for example, if we were to do a pay-per-click campaign, you would have something that's geo targeting specific to your service areas for your puppy training and your dog training,
Right.
whether that's the boarding or whether that's just the in-home coaching. Then you would have another campaign that's nationally, that can have a national reach, that would be focused on your puppy raising. Now, obviously, anytime you go with a national reach, obviously it requires a pretty large ad budget if you're doing that. So you could probably start by targeting very specific cities. You could start by targeting very specific avatars and demographics. So like high income earners, like if it's $15,000 for puppy raising, you're going to want to be targeting your upper class, upper middle class who have an extra 15K to spend on a family pet. And then your kennels and accessories, as in any ecom, you're going to want to do a national reach, but you can do that into a completely different avatar. It doesn't have to be the top 1%. Even though your kennels are higher end, as far as cost, as far as quality and everything, you still have a much larger avatar that you could probably target as well.
Yeah. Okay.
On top of that, if they're in one site, it makes it that much easier to implant the idea of your kennels and your accessories to those that you're already working with, which you probably already do that anyway as you're working on site. Your team probably does that.
Yeah.
Um, but this allows you to kind of culminate your list into one. And then when you're talking about an email list, email marketing, you can constantly be reaching out to those same people, giving discounts or kind of pushing that out in front of them through
Yeah.
email while you're doing the training without you having to explicitly remember, oh, I should talk to them and upsell them about kennels.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say. And when you go into a higher end SEO plan and you're purchasing backlinks and you're writing guest blogs for other websites to link back to yours so it can increase your domain authority for your site, you're gonna have to do that across 3 websites. If you do
Yeah.
it for one, it's going to increase word count. It's going to increase uh, your domain authority because you're targeting all these different keywords. So now you have more opportunity, but then also it's going to cost less in when purchasing backlinks.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. The idea of like making the puppy page and the adult page operate as a landing page for whatever reason makes that feel much more like manageable.
Yep.
Because I was just worrying about people coming to the website getting lost, which is why I kept it kind of basic. But I see what you're saying. That makes total sense.
Yeah, and again, especially when you're doing a paid advertising campaign, your destination URL is going to be based on what campaign you're running and who you're running it to.
Right.
So it may even be that you have, multiple landing pages using your ads that aren't actually linked in your website. They're just specifically for your demographic for that one service in that location or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So they can stay separate from your site, but it at least gets the information that they need. It gives you the information you need, and then you can kind of close the sale from there.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
Cool. Awesome. So I want to look at kind of more of your search engine optimization side of the website, just kind of show a couple little things. So you gave me a couple ahead of time, you gave me a couple of your competitors. So just taking a look at just organic traffic overall. So we have yours here, looks about 600 total for May. It looks like you had a significant increase in traffic to your website this month already. Is there something that you did differently at the beginning of this month than you have previously?
So the initial website that you had pulled up was built on a different platform and or was under a different hosting. And I ended up redesigning it, which I didn't have any access to. So I ended up redesigning it and bringing it back to Wix. Does that make sense?
Okay. So the website previous to May was on a different platform.
Yeah,
Okay, so 600 a month is probably more of your standard website visits than
probably.
previously where it says 6. Okay, got it. Yeah, I was gonna say a 10,000% increase is pretty significant. I wanted to know what you did in order to get those numbers. But cool, that makes sense. So looking at a couple of your competitors, I mean, you definitely got some bigger competitors in this space.
Right.
Um, I mean, if we look at Dog Training Elite, so that authority score that we were talking about earlier, they have a very high authority score. So they've probably been around for a long time. They probably have a significant marketing budget that they're spending in order to get this kind of reach. We talked
Yeah.
about the backlinks earlier. So you can see they have almost 52,000 backlinks listed. And then almost 1,800 referring domains in comparison. So this is just more of a, and it looks like they're probably running some paid ads as well. So this is just more of a comparison of, the ones you gave me, kind of where you stand. I don't think that you're in a bad place at all. I think that you have a lot of room for opportunity, but it's mostly simple things that should be
Yeah.
pretty easy. If we go back and we take a look at your actual site audit, let me bring that up. There we go. So this is just the high level overview of more of the technical analysis of your website. So you have a really good site health percentage. We try to keep all of our clients above a 90%. You're at 91 already, so I think you're doing really good there. No major errors. You see some of the warnings we have down here, just meta descriptions, those
Hmm.
H1s that we were talking about, and then
Yeah.
some low word count. Those are the main ones. So I
Okay.
think just going in, adding meta descriptions, adding title tags, marking the headers is going to take, it's going to be a huge help for
Okay.
your search engine optimization for sure. Um, and it looks like your pages are healthy, good crawlability, good internal linking, um, and your site speed looks really good. So outside of just taking care of some of those simple SEO things, I think you're in a pretty good foundational space.
I know that like SEO takes time to build up.
Mhm.
Um, at what point does your number of competitors, because there's a ton of dog trainers in Charlotte, and at what point does the number of competitors, like, how does that factor into SEO and getting pulled up on the first page organically?
Yeah. So obviously more competition makes it that much more difficult.
Right.
So what you really want to look at is doing one of those audits like I talked about earlier. So
Uh-huh.
taking a look at, you sent me three, so maybe we take 3 to 5 competitors in your area that that you're constantly seeing everywhere that are
Yeah.
more in line with where you are as a dog trainer. So
Okay.
like the elite dog training one seems like they've been around a long time. They have a pretty large team. So it's probably not a direct comparison competitor that I would use for you, but
Okay.
it's a good like, hey, I want to get here. Great, we see what they're doing, now let's build a plan to help you get there,
Yeah.
knowing that if we're depending on kind of how, if we're taking an organic approach or paid approach, either it takes more time or it takes more money. The If you had three that are like where you are at right now, I would say let's look at their performance, let's look at yours, and then
Mhm.
when we do a keyword audit, we take a look at what's the keywords people are using to search for services like this, what types of different phrases they're using, and then how easy is it going to be to rank for those phrases. Then you build kind of your keyword target list. So you say, hey, I want to go after dog training near me. It's super high competition, but there's a really good high quality score that comes with those leads and with that traffic. So then you take a look at, okay, I'm going to need to purchase backlinks and do guest blogs or whatever to have that phrase associated with my name on someone else's site, which then increases your domain authority and things like that.
Yeah.
A big part of it, I would say, is probably going to be local SEO for you as well, at least for your dog training services. That's probably going to be the easiest way to help you rank sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Getting into that map pack with an optimized like Google business page is going to be key. So when you look at, let's say you search dog training near me, you're going to have your LSA, your local service ads, which you talked about earlier, that Google guaranteed. Then
Yeah.
you have the sponsored ads from Google, which is the pay-per-click ads. So someone
Right.
actually bidding on that phrase. And then you have your map pack. And those are the three businesses that you see next to, the Google Maps section as a preview.
Yeah.
Pretty much anyone that lands in the top 3 map pack gets about 90 to 95% of the organic traffic. So that map pack is absolutely crucial for local service businesses. And the way you get in there is through a couple different things. So one is having an up-to-date optimized Google business page that has images, you post regularly on there for updates. You have services and products, all of that stuff optimized for the targeted keyword list that we talked about earlier.
Right.
Then you have citations. So this is just areas for your website to be listed, whether that's your Google business profile, like specific link,
Yeah.
and then or your name, address, and phone number in different online directories.
Okay.
So consistency with the name, address, and phone number is absolutely key. Because if
Yeah.
you have one number here, a different phone number here, or maybe your address is, you know, a different variation on this site than it is this site, it sends Google kind of confusing signals, and then it's like, we're not going to push them as hard. But if
Okay.
all of those are fixed and they all say the exact same thing, that tells Google, I can trust this information. I'm more likely to promote this business.
Yeah. Okay.
And then it also goes into, honestly, with yours, with your homepage, really, I would be taking a look at doing locations pages. And this would be a great opportunity to have my partner, Mike, who does all of our Wix web development, to work with you on building a content management system or a CMS. And what that allows you to do is dynamically create a web page that has your services in a specific location. So let's say for Charlotte, for instance, dog training in Charlotte, we build out this entire page that's focused on the city of Charlotte and the services you provide in that city,
Okay.
because you are a come to you service for a lot of what you do. Then we take a look at building another one for Concord, build another one for Mooresville, you know, depending on your service, Raleigh, or wherever you go in, you know, whether it's Matthews or anything around Charlotte that
Right.
you service, you want to build a location specific page for that city. And it can be relatively the same content. It doesn't have to be all new copywriting in each one. You just need to have a dynamic value that has the combination of your service that you want to rank for and that location. And
Yeah.
that's really, really going to help your local search engine optimization too, and helping you increase in your map pack ranking.
Yeah. So you guys would actually build out like individual pages for each location.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
and within the content management system, it's actually really simple. So like once you build the initial one inside the content management system, you essentially add a dynamic value. And that
Uh,
dynamic value that changes between the pages is the location itself. So
God.
anywhere where it says Charlotte, that can be interchanged for a different city. And
Kind of
so
like, I don't know if you've ever been on Airbnb's website, but kind of like their website, like whatever city you're in, it pulls up like that city.
I don't know. Let's check it out.
At least it used to be. Oh, it doesn't look like their homepage. It was a while back whenever I looked at it, like on their homepage, it was like vacation in um, whatever city that you were in.
So I'll use one of our other clients. They're also
Yeah.
built in Wix, and we use a CMS system for them. So if we go up to locations, we can say, hey, they service these 5 locations. They actually service more, but this is the, you know, what we built out for them so far. So if we look at locations, so this is Gilbert. So free estimate for HVAC services in Gilbert, AZ. That's what they wanted to rank for. That's their kind of their lead loss. They've got their contact form in the right. And then you have all of the page information that's describing their services and all that. But essentially, you can build out service pages for every single one of these cities listed here, which we have some. So if we go over to Phoenix, you know, again, you can tell it's the same page. It's the dynamic value, though, is the city of Phoenix versus Gilbert.
Got it. Okay.
So again, from an SEO standpoint, what that does is it just combines your service with that city, and that helps with those specific rankings. So if someone says dog training in Charlotte versus dog training in Matthews, then you would actually have a better chance of ranking if you have both of those combinations versus just Charlotte Metro or something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, and then if you, you know, kind of expand out, so if you get deeper into local SEO and you set up, you have multiple business locations. So maybe you have one in Charlotte, maybe you have a location on the south side, maybe you have a location on the west side. Then you can build out those locations pages for that city. And then wherever you have a Google business page, you can link that down directly into it. You know, and it can be as in depth as you want it to be. We actually have one of our other clients. All of these are built in a CMS, and these are all the different cities because they service a 10 county area.
Yeah.
All of these are built out locations pages. And so it's the same information, again, just dynamic values all between them.
Yep.
And then ones that they have specific Google My Business pages for, we link that specifically at the bottom of the page. So that way, that is a specific signal to that Google business page for those keyword combinations.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
Any other questions?
I can't think of any right this second.
Okay.
No,
Well,
I don't think so.
I think, maybe a follow up to this video, then I would love to have Mike do a call with you and kind of
Yeah.
walk you through a content management system and what that would look like and how to build
Yeah.
one. And then you could be able to take this and implement this for yourself, for your business, and build out those locations pages. And you can get very granular with it too. If you wanted to, you could build them out for pretty much every section, every city around the metro area. You can even do it for mention specific neighborhoods in those pages as well, if you wanted
Right.
to, depending on how much competition you have, which we've employed this for quite a few of our clients. We have a lot of clients in Austin, Texas, which is
Yeah.
extremely competitive in every single vertical. So we'll actually build out content that's specific to neighborhoods to help them kind of hyper target a location and help them start to get traction in one area and then slowly expand out to the city as a whole. And that's been pretty successful for us so far.
Yeah. Yeah. That's smart. Especially like being mobile. I feel like that would be a really good way to go about it.
Yeah. And if you
Yeah.
take a look at your Google business page, like that's a great way to start the implementation of it. Is really, you should be posting at least once a week to your Google business page with a graphic and with content that pretty much is using the combinations that keyword and location. But
Yeah.
that's a great spot to be able to hyper target specific neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Especially if you just worked in a neighborhood or coming up working in a neighborhood soon, you can put that in the post and just say, hey, we're serving residents right now in X neighborhood for dog training. And that's going to help you get that much more targeted with specific individuals, especially
Yeah.
if it's a high income neighborhood. Then that's a great place to be.
Right. Yeah. I watched your video earlier about the Google My Business, and there was a lot of good like key points. I have to go back through it and like take notes and like implement those things, but that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would happy to dive into it with you more later on as well. Because again, there's a lot that goes into it, but even taking a look at like your citation building and stuff like that, there's a lot of information, probably too much for just one sitting with all of us. There's a lot of info dump, but happy to do another video with you talking more about it.
Okay. Um, yeah, I think I've got plenty to like focus on right now. And as far as like Mike doing the like being able to like build out pages and stuff, like where what would I need to do next to explore that?
Yeah, so I'll link up with Mike. I'll get you connected with him directly.
Yeah.
Let's just set up a time for him to kind of show you how to do a CMS system.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, it's relatively easy once it's set up. It's a piece of cake. It's just typing in some basic information and that's it.
Yeah.
Um, if you haven't already, I'd go through Wix's the SEO guide that they have and just set up some basic stuff.
Yeah, I did that.
If you need to consult, like ChatGPT or Claude.ai for suggestions on title tags, meta descriptions, and things like that, even
Yeah.
having an AI, generated descriptions and tags and stuff for now works really well. At least till you get to the point where it's like, okay, I can actually do like a real keyword audit. These are the ones I want to target, like actually map out a system.
Right.
Something is better than nothing.
Yeah.
Claude actually has a really solid structure for built for scanning websites. So you can use Claude to scan your website and
Uh-huh.
ask it for SEO recommendations.
Okay.
Um, you can even too, if you really wanted to, there's a tool called gobble.bot,
Uh-huh.
and it looks like a super spammy website. I'm not gonna lie. And it's just this all yellow page, and there's this weird like red robot head on the side.
Yeah.
But you can actually put your website URL into it. It'll scan your website and it'll create a text document for it.
Okay.
You take that text document and you upload it into ChatGPT and you say, hey, I need you to act as an SEO expert. Here is a text document of my entire website. what SEO recommendations would you specifically make for this website to rank better locally, and give it your business goals and say, I want my website on the front page. I want it to do this. I want to have this many leads. And here's my client. Like, give it as much information about your business and your avatar as you can.
Right.
And then take a look at what it pops out and implement some of those changes, and they'll help.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Cool. Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for doing this. This was so helpful.
Yeah, I'm glad it helped.
Yeah.
I appreciate you taking the time to let me dissect your website a bit. But I think you have a really solid foundation. I think there's just some tweaks to make to like really put it over the top. And then
Yeah.
from there, it's just kind of A/B testing different changes and seeing what works better.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Do you have like Google Analytics, a Google Tag Manager, or anything connected to the website?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I have Google Search Console and then for sure Google Analytics, but there's not much like information on it as of right now, just
Okay.
because the website's so new or
Right.
so like, yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, that's good. Again, you got the foundational piece, you're gathering the data. So if you ever in the future, like, all right, it's time for a big marketing plan, the data's there for, your team to be able to analyze that and put together a good strategy for it.
Yeah. 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 That makes sense. Cool. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for your time today. And then if you have any questions, let me know. I'll get you connected with Mike, and then we'll show you how to build that CMS.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Samantha. We'll see you.